These are the plaintiffs, Alexandria and Stephen Newton. Alexandria said
he know
she
his
had to
name, or did he just go,
postpone her wedding due to COVID. And the defendant said she could use the flower deposit money she gave her for a future date. When she called to reschedule recently, the woman upped her prices by almost double. And she doesn't think that's fair. And she wants her $500 back.
That courtroom is empty. This definitely is recent post-COVID.
This is the
literally
defendant,
nobody
Tina
in the courtroom.
Brooks.
It's usually
She
full.
says the plaintiff changed the flower arrangements when she rescheduled her wedding. And when she told them there would be an additional cost, her fiancé went nuts and started screaming he wanted a full refund. She's not going to work for a hothead like him. And is not giving them their deposit because deposits aren't refundable. She's accused of causing wedding woes.
I don't know about that one. A lot happened during COVID, as we all know, and especially in the wedding industry, where we had a lot of clients change their date. It just kind of, happened that way. People had to change their date. People had to cancel and all of that. So the tricky part is when you're postponing. There was a lot of litigation, a lot of traffic, a lot of people talking about this subject. And the point of contention for me is moving the date. Let's say you have your date was May 1st, 2020. Obviously COVID happened and everything was shut down, but then you decide to move your date. So then you get with the vendor or vendors and you move your date. And let's say you move your date 3 years from there. So instead of 2020, it's 2023. You had an old contract. You could have gotten out of that contract at that point. Hey, COVID happened. Give me my money back. But no, we're going to have a wedding and we're going to have it 3 years later. So we're going to do a new contract. And in that new contract, we're going to follow the stipulations of the contract. It's literally right there in black and white. And then something happens, you decide you break up or you can't afford it anymore, or you decide to elope or whatever it is, but you still have that contract and you already had a new arrangement. And in my eyes, which my eyes are not full of legal advice, because it's not legal advice. This is just me, a guy that runs a company that is speaking out loud and telling you what my thoughts are. And what I think is, because you have this new contract, then you can't blame COVID anymore because COVID is over. COVID was 3 years ago. And yeah, we're still feeling some of the effects of it, but everything is open. You're allowed to have an event. And if you had this new contract, then you have to follow that contract. If you decide to change it, or you decide that you don't want to pay, or you decide that you no longer want to work with that vendor, well, you still have to follow the stipulations of this new contract that you created. So there's one. Number two, it sounds to me like this vendor fired her client because the way that it was read was,
I'm not going to work for a hothead like this.
So then you're firing the client and you're the one that breached. So you got to give them a refund. I don't know how it played out, but that's what it sounds like to me. Let's continue on.
The defendant has filed a countersuit for $182.85, the balance on their original contract.
She's suing for $180. I'm going to countersue you for $180. That's what I'm going to countersue you for. I'm not happy about that part of it. I think you could have just defended your position instead of then saying, oh, by the way, you owe me 75 cents. I'm going to countersue for that because I didn't charge you 75 cents back in the day. So give me 75 cents. I'm not feeling that at all. Hey, hold on. She paid a $500 deposit and the remaining balance is $182. Wow, that is a substantial deposit. That's like an 85% deposit. Let me see how that Midwest school system works. $682 minus 85%. It's $578. So it's like a 70% deposit. Pretty big deposit. That's more than half. Midwest school system. See how that works?
And you are counterclaiming against them the rest of the cost of the services that they
contracted. How are flowers for a wedding only $680? I thought it was going to be like over like $1,200, $1,500,
Alexandria, tell me what happened.
$3,000. How is it
so
$600? Okay.
So she wrote us up a quote.
Cool. So we got a contract. I love it.
Do you have the quote with you?
Yes.
May I see it? So
love it.
She was going to charge you $682.85. And for that, you would get the following. Petals for the flower girl. Okay. Groom's boutonniere to match the bride's bouquet.
Boutonniere?
Best man boutonniere.
Boutonniere.
So you pay a $500 deposit.
And what's the rest? That was it? Oh, I guess that makes sense. She paid $680. So you got the bride's bouquet, the maid of honor's bouquet, the groom's boutonniere and the best man's boutonniere, and then some flowers for the flower girl, some little, whatever we'll call them, loosies, extra flowers that, didn't look good anyway. We just throw them into a basket and the flower girl throws them on the ground. Fine. That sounds about right. $600 for that.
Lo and behold, a funny thing happens on the way to your wedding, and that's a worldwide pandemic. So you postpone your wedding until another date in 2020. You communicate with her that you'd like to change your order, correct?
Correct. The only thing I needed to add was centerpieces, because originally we had...
What do you mean the only thing you wanted to add?
Only thing you would add?
Only thing I wanted to add was the venue. That's all I wanted to add. I just needed a venue. So it shouldn't have been that much more. Centerpieces. Centerpieces are a big deal. I mean, centerpieces are massive. Are you kidding? Centerpieces?
Wedding centerpieces?
Centerpieces.
We didn't have that anymore, so that was on me. So I just needed some centerpieces.
Just, why are you saying just?
A total of 7 tables.
7 centerpieces. 7 centerpieces. Let's say the boutonniere costs $50, which is a lot for a little flower that goes right here. So $50 for boutonniere number 1, $50 for boutonniere number 2. And let's just say 100. I'm just going to say 50, but we'll say 100. $100 for the loose flower petals that the flower girl's going to throw. So 700 minus 2 equals $500. $500. Divided by 2, that is $250 for the bouquets. Now, the centerpiece is going to be as expensive, if not more expensive, than the bride's bouquet. But let's just say it's as expensive as the bride's bouquet. You take $250 and you multiply that by 7. It's $1,750 for centerpieces at the bare minimum if we're doing the math there. So I think she's actually getting a better deal.
Did you ask for anything else besides that?
Anything else? Like what else?
For my dad, because I forgot.
Okay, so it's extra $50. Now we're at 18.
And then we added a flower girl.
Okay, no.
But other than that, no.
What do you mean you added a flower?
Flower girl
We were gonna have
petals.
one, and then we ended up
Okay,
having
so
2.
you just needed more loose flowers for the flowers.
Right, so it's $100.
Anything else
right,
that you
so
added?
it's $1,900.
That
Okay.
I mean,
It ended up being almost double, and we were just
should
like,
be
why?
double.
Like, really? And then she throws in random charges that she wasn't charging us originally.
like what?
So,
like what?
So do you have
yeah,
then a
let's see the new contract.
document
Let's show
that
me.
she sent?
Show me what you got.
That is on the bridal table, and that you were charging $40 for.
$40
Out of
each?
curiosity, why is that one more? Because it was what?
Because I charge by the stem.
By the
my
stem, what does
flowers.
that mean?
So that's how I, in my head, how
What does
it
that
works.
mean?
Okay, so
if you have a
it
rose,
was originally
then you have a
$628.
different petals?
Right?
Like what do
and
you mean by
something?
the stem?
So the setup fee now is $150 as opposed to.
25 initially I charged.
Yeah,
her
because
for
she's
a
just
drop-off.
drop off.
And
right,
then the
yeah.
delivery fee is $60, but you weren't going to charge her that beforehand.
They moved their venue to Boulder City, which is the neighboring town.
Oh,
So
but
it's
there
a
you
whole
go.
different. So that's why there's more fees. I'm not trying to. That's
That's
just normal.
reasonable.
They actually really got.
A reasonable
If you
rate.
look at the pricing on here. If you've ever paid for a wedding, it's very
Reasonable,
expensive.
yeah.
So
Yeah, very
you didn't
reasonable.
like this quote. So the normal thing after that then becomes, okay, I'm not going to hire you to do the extra stuff because you liked the first quote, the one
Right.
from 2
Right,
years ago.
exactly.
Yes.
So
Okay.
why isn't that just what happens?
That is a great point. Wish I would have thought of that. Maybe I should have went to law school.
I just don't understand how it became.
What does that
double.
matter? That's not what
And
she
I
asked you.
After we received the final quote, we were both just like, "Oh my gosh, why is it almost double?" And so
Okay, well,
we
you
asked
had a
to
lot of
meet again. And
stuff.
I have also a bridge quote from where we met up during. And she said $60 for setup, and on there it's $150.
It's a
And
different
for
city.
drop-off, the venue is way closer than our original venue. So
Way
it's
closer
just
than
things,
what? What are
like,
you
didn't
talking
make
about?
sense.
Why don't you tell me? Let's hear from your husband, Stephen. Stephen?
Yes,
Yeah.
Your Honor.
Did you lose it?
No, I wouldn't say so at all.
Oh, please. You look like the type that would lose it, allegedly.
Stick by it and you just.
Well, no.
That's not what she asked
You guys
you.
keep saying
Answer the
that,
question.
But that's for your extras, right?
But didn't explain that. It's just
Okay.
But it doesn't
But she
matter. Does
did
she have to? Does she?
It got
Did you have
explained
to?
because you could see she's only charging $16 for the extra boutonniere you forgot. That's completely fair. And
Wow,
then the stuff
16
that
bucks
you
for a boutonniere?
added besides a boutonniere, and you feel it's too much. I get that. But why don't you just then stay with your original
Original
deal
quote, like, hey,
and go
this is
buy
what we got.
eucalyptus at a flower
Exactly,
shop?
exactly.
There was a lot of lack of communication.
What-
It
No,
was-
there's
What-
a lot of I think there's extra communications. So tell me, what's the communication that's happening?
I love
I
it.
think initially the break in communication happened because of the whole pandemic thing. Initially, when I met with
why are you explaining that? Don't explain that. Just say the conversation.
They made
Stop.
the appointment with them. I worked with all my brides during that. Like, who wouldn't have done
No, that's
that?
fine. And
Okay,
then
that's
you
fine.
give
But
her the
the
quote for the
conversation.
and
Talk
she
about
gives
the
the same
conversation
quote.
specifically.
Why isn't
I had to make the decision, and I felt very bad because
well, no,
of
Mr.
for her.
Newton,
What? He
did
was
do?
yelling at you.
The way
What was he doing?
Just screaming in the background, and to have somebody speaking to me that way. I'm a business owner. I can refuse service to anybody.
But you
and we're
do
all
that.
in this, and I don't like to see a bride go without.
Oh, you were winning the case. You didn't have to say that.
No.
What happens is you are telling the judge that you fired the client. And what's going to happen is she's going to refund their money because you fired the client. He's speaking to you that way. He shouldn't do that. You have every right to fire him. But when you fire him, you have to live with that decision, which includes giving him his money back. God, you shut up. You shouldn't even have said that. If you wouldn't have said that, you would have won the case. I mean, I'm not saying to lie to the judge. So Judge Milian and all judges out there in the world, I am never condoning perjury, ever. What I'm saying is she never asked you that question. You should answer the question that is asked. And the question that was asked was, how was he speaking to you?
He was yelling at me in the background. I couldn't get in any words in edgewise.
Done. But now you said,
Well, I had no choice but to let her know that I can refuse service, and I'm refusing service.
money back.
When you tell them I'm not working for you, why would you keep the deposit? If you decide, which you have the perfect right, that you're not going to be talked to that way.
Said it.
You say,
That's
you know
what I
what?
said.
I can't work with you now. What was he saying to her?
He was just angry with the pricing.
Stop saying that.
So
God, I wish you would answer the freaking question.
I'm getting frustrated, so let me calm down. The defendant is answering the questions and then adding stuff to the question that she asked. The plaintiff is not even answering the questions. She's just saying,
What was he saying to her?
He was upset.
that's not the question I asked.
What was he saying?
He was upset. He was not happy with the quote.
What was he saying? Like, you need to push, Judge Milian. See if we can get one of these people to admit that he was just
In the wedding world, canceling an event 10 days
you
prior.
canceled it.
We
You
booked
canceled it.
weddings.
You
cancel
canceled
it. You
it.
did.
See? Exactly.
you
Move
said,
forward.
fine, I'll give you your money back and you won't work with me. And then based on that, they hired another florist rather than having
exactly.
you do the original
Exactly.
contract.
Yep.
But if you agree to let them out and you agree that you're going to return the deposit, and based on that, they go out and hire
Yep.
another florist rather than getting their $500 worth out of you.
Yep.
How do you think that we're going to get to court and that I'm not going to order you to return the $500?
I agree.
Well, then why
So
am I
why are
here
you here?
if
Exactly.
agree?
Why are you-
Because
why'd you
know
go
that's
through
gonna
all
happen.
this?
You have to
Exactly.
know. And instead, what happens is you file a counterclaim for $182.
Why?
Because that
Why'd you
goes
do
back
that?
to what I was saying before. In my industry,
It doesn't. But you
when
canceled the
when people put
contract.
a deposit down, that's holding your date. I no longer can take another bride.
But you
for that
canceled
date.
it. You're the
Or,
one
you
that
know, I
canceled
have
it.
a
You're the one that said, I
certain
can't
amount that
work
I can
with
take.
you, regardless of
And
when it was.
I've had a lot of litigation from vendors during, all the sweethearts.
But
who wanted to
you
get
are the
married
one that
in
canceled.
2020. And I've had a lot of vendor litigation where the vendors said, no, that was your date.
Mm-hmm.
And the vendors haven't done well. But I get it. So you guys have ended up eating a lot of COVID.
Yeah.
and
Eating
it's
a
put
lot of
people out
COVID. I like
business.
the way
I
she worded
understand
that.
all I have a different situation with you, though, because we're past that. You had given them a new date. Everything was fine.
Yep.
The problem was that Mr. Newton spoke to you in a way that you didn't want to be spoken to. And you made a decision.
Yep.
You know what? Fine. I'll return your money,
Yep.
go somewhere else because I'm not doing business with you.
And once
Which
you do
have
that,
every right to do.
exactly,
But you
I said
did
that.
it. You did it, and
Crystal
then you
ball.
didn't send the 500.
Crystal ball,
and
crystal
that's the
ball.
problem. You hired another florist.
Correct.
Everything
Yeah,
good?
Yes.
How much of the other florist?
Come on, dude. She didn't hire a florist. I'm not trying to belittle her family, her wedding, or anything, but look at the flower centerpieces that she had there. Man, that was a Hobby Lobby job all day long. Those weren't even real. Come on. Allegedly.
Verdict for the plaintiffs in the amount of the $500. Good luck,
Thank you,
everybody.
Your Honor.
I am a little partial to all the wedding vendors out there. It is just the way it is. And I was really rooting for the defendant. I thought that she handled herself very well. I liked her demeanor. I liked the way that she was taking care of everything up until the point where she mentioned the fact that she fired the client. And then as I'm thinking about it and watching the show, you have to submit an answer to a complaint, basically. When somebody sues you, it's called a complaint, and then you answer the complaint. And when you answer the complaint, you tell your side of the story. And it sounds like she had already said in her answer to the complaint that she fired the clients. So Judge Milian was going to get there anyway. It's just that the defendant beat her to the punch. She was like, oh yeah, by the way, I fired him. And as soon as that happened, as soon as she said, oh yeah, I fired him, well, guess what? You have to return that money. She knew she had to return the money. Maybe she just wanted to be on TV. I don't know when she took the initial $500 and when the court case was. Maybe she wanted to collect interest on that money. I don't know. But it was clear cut that the defendant was going to lose. I'm going to be rolling up out of here. I appreciate you coming and rocking with me one more time. My name is Damon with Complete Media. I'm out.